The laughter cut through the quiet bank lobby like a blade. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to sting, the kind of laugh that carries judgment without needing words. The manager leaned back in his chair, eyes flicking from the worn shoes to the trembling hands clutching a folded passbook, and smiled with thin amusement. The sign behind him gleamed with promises of trust and security, yet in that moment, trust felt very far away. No one in the room knew it yet, but the man being laughed at held the fate of that entire building in his quiet, patient hands. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us what humanity really looks like. The man had entered the bank just before closing, shoulders slightly hunched, as if years of carrying invisible weight had bent him forward. His jacket was old but clean, its elbows faded smooth from use. He waited in line like everyone else, eyes lowered, breathing slow, absorbing the impatient sighs and glances around him. To most people, he looked like someone who would be turned away, someone who didn't belong among polished counters and crisp suits. What no one saw was how carefully he observed everything: the rhythm of the staff, the flicker of stress behind forced smiles, the subtle signs of a place running on pressure rather than purpose. When his turn came, the teller hesitated, unsure, and called the manager over. The manager approached with a practiced air of superiority, already decided. He barely listened as the man placed his passbook on the counter, explaining in a calm, respectful way that he wanted to check a balance and make a small adjustment. The manager glanced at the worn pages, scoffed internally, and let out that laugh. He made a remark meant to sound clever, offering double the money if there was anything worth counting at all. It was humiliation dressed as humor, and it landed heavy. The man did not flinch. He didn't argue or raise his voice. He simply nodded, as if he had heard worse before, as if dignity was something he carried inside rather than demanded from others. His silence unsettled the manager for a brief second, but arrogance quickly filled the gap. Papers were stamped, a computer screen was pulled closer, and fingers began typing with impatience. The teller watched, uneasy, sensing that something about this moment felt wrong. As the numbers loaded, the room seemed to slow. The hum of machines grew louder. The manager's confident posture stiffened, his smile fading as his eyes scanned the screen again and again, searching for an error. The balance wasn't just healthy, it was staggering. Accounts layered beneath accounts, investments tied to long-term plans, reserves built with foresight and discipline. This wasn't the balance of a man struggling to get by. This was the balance of someone who understood money deeply and treated it as a tool, not a trophy. Color drained from the manager's face. The laughter died in his throat. Around them, the air shifted as if the building itself had leaned in to listen. The man finally lifted his eyes, not with pride or anger, but with a quiet sadness, as if he had seen this moment play out too many times before. He had spent years walking into rooms where respect was measured by appearances, learning who people were in the seconds before they knew who he was. What the manager didn't know was that this man had built the bank's largest institutional partnerships from the ground up. He had started as an intern decades ago, learned every role, every weakness in the system, and later stepped away from the spotlight to understand the world beyond boardrooms. Now, as the CEO, he made unannounced visits, not to test numbers, but to test character. He believed culture was revealed in small moments, not mission statements. The realization hit the manager like a wave. His mouth opened, then closed. Apologies tumbled out in clumsy fragments, but they sounded hollow even to his own ears. The man listened without interruption, then gently took back his passbook. He didn't expose his identity right away. Instead, he looked around the lobby, at the tired cleaner waiting near the door, at the teller whose hands still shook, at the posters promising fairness and respect. He spoke calmly, explaining that money was never the issue, dignity was. Then he revealed who he was, not with drama, but with quiet clarity. The words settled like dust after a storm. The manager's legs weakened, the weight of his behavior crashing down on him. In that instant, years of unchecked authority unraveled. The staff stood frozen, witnessing not just a reversal of power, but a lesson carved in real time. The CEO did not fire the manager on the spot. That would have been easy. Instead, he outlined consequences that cut deeper: mandatory retraining, a demotion, and a period of working under supervision, learning empathy from the ground up. He announced changes to customer service policies, ensuring respect was no longer optional but enforced. He thanked the teller for professionalism under pressure and acknowledged the cleaner with a nod that carried more respect than the manager had shown anyone all day. As the CEO prepared to leave, he paused, turning back once more to look at the manager. His expression held no triumph, only resolve. He reminded everyone that power reveals who we are when we think no one important is watching. Then he walked out into the evening, blending back into the world, just another man with an old jacket and steady steps. The days that followed transformed the bank. Whispers turned into conversations, conversations into action. Staff began to treat customers differently, not out of fear, but awareness. The manager, humbled, struggled through the change, facing the discomfort of self-reflection. Slowly, painfully, he began to understand what that quiet man had known all along: respect costs nothing, but its absence costs everything. If this story is touching your heart, if it's reminding you of moments when kindness could have changed everything, please take a second now to like the video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and stay connected with us by subscribing. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Comment below with one word that this story made you feel, because your voice matters here. In the end, the laughter that once echoed in that bank was replaced by something softer, something human. And somewhere beyond the glass doors, a CEO continued his quiet walk through the world, still watching, still believing that the smallest moments reveal the greatest truths.